Welcome back, everybody, to your three-man booth. I'm Dan Salem with Phil and Bud. Entering week 2 of the NFL season, Section 323 podcast is rolling with bad news from the Jets and Giants fronts. Real quick, before we jump into our week 2 ATS picks, Bud, I got to give you a plug. You wrote a tremendous article that's up on BuzzChomp right now about the downfall of the Jets, or being the same old Jets, and some things never change. It was excellent. I would say the same thing about the Eagles, about Phillip Rivers, about the Jets, about the Giants, about the Browns. Cleveland, yeah. But well said, Bud. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you.
Yeah. Go take a read. I want us to jump right into our picks. We'll start with you, Phil, and then we can roll back onto that mess of week 1.
I'm on the spot first, huh? All right. So I'm kind of taking your lead from last week. You picked Green Bay last week, and I mean, listen, thank God for Davante Adams, because he didn't help me win my fantasy team because I lost by half a point, but that's no one cares about my fantasy team. But Davante Adams is going to be peppered with targets all year. And I said before when we were doing the podcast that this is going to be the Aaron Rodgers middle finger year. They're like, all right, you want to draft a quarterback in the first round? All right. You want to draft a running back in the second round when we already have 2? Give me no weapons? All right, we'll see how we handle this. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers is going to be a monster this year. So
what do they got?
Give me -6.
-6 against – they're at home against Detroit. That's a nice pick.
Now, does Green Bay allow fans? Is that going to be one of the ones that has – I don't remember.
No fans until – I think they said no fans for the first month.
Okay, but Green Bay is going to have fans, though.
Eventually, they said later in the year, but we'll see what happens on that.
All right. So then I'm going to go with the Seattle home opener against New England. I don't think any of us were overly impressed with New England. Cam played, better than probably anyone expected in his first game in a year and a half, but they also played Miami, so not much of a litmus test. So I'll take Seattle going -4 against New England because they put a beating on the Atlanta Falcons. That game was never in question.
Yeah.
Hey, Dan, real quick question for you.
Yeah.
You're on the West Coast. The Giants-Mariners game was canceled because of air quality.
Yeah.
How do you think that affects? Have you heard anything on the West Coast about it affecting football games? I mean, if the Mariners are canceling games and they play in a dome, how are they doing it in an open stadium?
So they were. I'm assuming that they were in San Francisco.
He'll take your response offline. No.
Yeah. I'm assuming they were in San Francisco, and the air quality's worse there than it is where I am. But I haven't gone outside in the last 5 or 6 days, just unless for necessity. I went to the grocery store, so it's not great. I have a feeling that unless the sky's red, the NFL won't do anything about it, but they probably should.
Sky's red in the West Coast.
I mean, it's not. It's definitely up north. It is. I mean, in LA here, it's probably passable to play. I've been talking about this with Mandy. I don't know where the limit is for where it's really a detriment to your health to be outside for a couple hours. Physical activity is a whole other question. It's a tough call.
Well, that SoFi Stadium is it's not open, but I think the ends are open, aren't they? That's not a closed stadium all the way.
It's not, and they were there Sunday night, so they played in it. It's tough. There's not it's hard to cancel things because of the money factor. If they could cancel, they should, but.
Well, they can move the game to New England.
Oh, they're in Seattle. I don't know what it's like up in Seattle. Maybe it's – they're not going to cancel the game. I can pretty much guarantee you, unless it's like the team boycott. But let's circle back around on this topic because this is an interesting one. I don't have a good answer for you, but I want to hear your picks real quick. Then we'll come back to it.
Phil, are you done picking?
I'm done. I picked one too.
We all went 1-1 last week, bud. Who you got this week for week 2?
I'm taking Arizona over Washington. Washington obviously surprises Philadelphia. I picked Philadelphia last week. Shame on me. But the way Arizona played against San Francisco, I don't think Washington will be able to keep up with them offensively. Even Washington's defense is better than I think people, at least through week one, is giving them credit for. Arizona's, correct me, 6.5 points, 6 points they're laying?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll lay the points, and I'll take Arizona. Other game I picked was Kansas City and the Chargers. Kansas City's laying 8.5. Give me Kansas City all day, every day. Kansas City, with the way their offense is, the way that their rookie running back played on Thursday, which is just another weapon. Lay the points and bring me a 16-0 season.
Nice. Well, maybe you'll get the pick. I don't know about 16-0, but I'm sticking on the road week 2. I'm also picking 2 favorites. Seems to be how we're all rolling this week, but that's just smart early in the season. I'm going to go with Baltimore. They humiliated the Browns week 1, and they are only giving up a touchdown against Houston, who is not great. Didn't look great. And I don't think
DeAndre Hopkins badly.
Well, DeAndre Hopkins had, 15 receptions?
Yeah, so I don't know how Houston's going to muster much against the Ravens. 7 points is plenty for me to give up, even though Baltimore's on the road. And I'm going to stick with the road teams, and I'm taking the LA Rams on the road in Philadelphia. They're only giving up 1.5 points. I mean, they beat the Cowboys. It was a close game. They probably shouldn't have with that pass interference call at the end. But
No.
Anyway, fair and square. Fair and square. But Philadelphia looks like a shell of itself outside of Carson Wentz having a hot first quarter. I don't see how they stop the Rams, who found a good running game minus Todd Gurley and got a solid, at least September football team playing. So 1.5, nothing. All right, so back to that week 1 mess. Because we all went 1-1 on our picks, which is pretty good for the first week of the season. I mean, you want to go 2-0, but we missed swing and miss on Phillip Rivers and the Colts. We were going to do a survivor pool here as a 3-man booth, but we got knocked out week 1, so we'll just leave it at that.
No, hold on. Before we just gloss over that.
All right.
Shame on us for believing in Phillip Rivers. Everyone said that Jacksonville is just punting this season. They're selling off all their assets. They have no interest in winning. Trevor Lawrence is already, packing his bags for Jacksonville. Gardner Minshew had one incomplete pass on Sunday, and he threw 3 touchdowns.
Speaking of incomplete passes, I don't think that Sam Darnold completed a pass until the second quarter. Oh, it was pathetic.
We're not there yet. We're not there. But
Okay.
I can't imagine we're the only ones who got knocked out of a survivor pool taking Indianapolis. And it happens every year. I mean, I remember the Saints a few years ago were huge favorites against whoever they were playing, and they got ran out of the building. I forget whatever team they were playing, but it happens, and we stepped on the landmine,
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe we missed the writing on the wall. Didn't the Colts lose a couple big names on defense? And obviously they lost Marlon Mack halfway through the game. He wasn't their primary running back, but
it's almost like they got lazy in the second half. They were going through the motions on defense, and they let Jacksonville back in the game. And what are you going to do? It happens. We'll try again next year.
Yeah. So I got to ask, Phil, are you jumping off the Indianapolis wins the Super Bowl bandwagon, or is this just a week 1 blip? Because week 1 tells lies every year.
It does, but as I said before, how do you trust Rivers? I mean, the guy hasn't won anything in his career at all.
I regret having him on my fantasy team after this right now. So
his fantasy numbers were great, actually. Fantasy-wise, he's fine. Because he did well, but it's just he's a compiler, right? And that's what you want for fantasy. You want to compile stats and yards and completions. Yeah. I think he threw 2 or 3 touchdowns, if I remember correctly.
He had 2 picks. He always has a couple interceptions that kill him.
Right. But if you're going to look at it from a fantasy point, he's a gunslinger, and he's going to keep throwing it. The problem is those aren't going to go for very far. They're just going to be dink and dunk all over the place.
So we are railing on Rivers. Did either of you guys watch the Browns game? Because what's up with Baker Mayfield and his team? Like, is he like, are we punting on Mayfield being anything in the NFL? Just like we're about to punt on a couple other quarterbacks.
I'd say he's average, right? And now listen, they ran into a buzzsaw.
I know. I
don't think there was anybody that was going to pick Cleveland to win that game against Baltimore. Baltimore's got a little bit of bad taste in their mouth from getting bounced out of the playoffs, like Bud said last week. They had no chance in that game, and it almost looked like they weren't ready.
Well, they still have Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry, correct?
Yeah, but they can't do anything unless Baker gets the ball.
Yeah. Oh, so we're dancing around the bullet here, but share with our audience your thoughts on the Jets. They actually, I thought, blocked decent for Darnold, considering how badly they blocked last year. But even though he had enough time to throw the ball, he didn't get it to anybody. I'll pull a sliver of silver lining out of that mess of a football game.
You got him to crack a smile, though. That's impressive.
Yeah.
The first smile I've had all day, Dan. Thank you. You've waited until 10:45 on Eastern Standard Time to do this. What I think the Jets are is a dumpster fire and a disgrace of an organization, like I do every single year. This year in particular, they, as I said just a few moments ago when Phil and I finished the podcast, it's one thing to lose. It's another thing to lose and look completely unprepared and uncompetitive. They were outplayed, outcoached, outworked. And bottom line, it comes down to the lack of depth on the team. And it comes down to just really bad coaching and putting players in a position where they can't succeed, putting their players in a position where they can't utilize their skills in the proper way. Le'Veon Bell, yeah, he gets hurt, but he was essentially he would get a couple runs and then they take him out for Frank Gore. Sam did not play well. He played quite awful, actually. I would expect more out of a third-year quarterback in the second year of a system. That I think the system is garbage anyway. But nevertheless, it's still the system that he's put in place with, and he missed wide open receivers. The offensive line still struggled with with run protection. They did better with pass protection, but nevertheless, it's the same thing. Like I said to Phil, you go through the first half, you're completely outplayed. That game should have been 40-0 at halftime, easily 40-0 at halftime. The defense comes out and they make adjustments and they hold them to 6 points in the second half, right?
Yeah.
The offense does nothing. They can't get anything They can't get anything. So if I see another slant pass that goes 1 yard to the right side, I'm going to go insane. It's the same play over and over and over again. They know what the book is. He threw the ball 5 or 6 times over 10 yards. If you're not going to stretch the field, if you're not going to run the ball, you're going to become a one-dimensional team. You're going to be Tom Brady within the 5-yard box, and you're not Tom Brady, and you're not Bill Belichick. Right. You're none of them.
Yeah. So that you're great. So I'm not gonna just reiterate because I have most of the same sentiments, but I wanted to mention. I said last week, if the Jets ran the ball up the middle with Bell the first play of the game, I would be throwing the towel in on the season. They actually threw a deep ball. Didn't do anything. So they didn't do what I was hoping they wouldn't do, but they absolutely looked the exact same unprepared mess that they were last year for September and October and half of November. It was unbelievable to me. The Bills let them stay in the game, the entire game, and never pulled away. You were high on Buffalo. What do you make of that? Because they could not put the Jets away. The Jets legitimately, if they had any sort of preparation, could have won that game or came back to win because Buffalo did not step aside. And I don't think they slowed down.
Yeah, fair point. I think, Josh Allen made some boneheaded plays. And I think that if he didn't make those boneheaded plays like young quarterbacks do, this game is absolutely a disaster. If you were to put them playing Baltimore, right, like Cleveland did, this game, what is this game at halftime? 45-50, nothing? I'm serious. I am. Sound like I'm exaggerating, but
no, I'm not. I was expecting them. Yeah.
Buffalo's field goal kicker missed 2 field goals, and he fumbled the ball twice within the 10-yard line. So you got to assume that
he also missed a wide open tight end.
Field goals that they missed, and then missed another field goal. So there's 12 additional points at halftime that they missed.
So I'm going to circle back on a thought because we've all been talking about how September is probably going to be preseason football for a number of teams. If that was the Jets' first preseason game, would we feel the same way? I'm just curious because it's not an excuse. They were thoroughly unprepared, and that game counts. The Giants played better, but they still lost by the same 10-point margin, and it's a loss. And by all accounts, they weren't anywhere near Pittsburgh's level. And Phil, I'll give you a moment to talk on the Giants in just a second. But there was no preseason. Like, where do we give a couple of teams the benefit of the doubt? How do we know if they deserve it until they've actually found their footing? I don't know. I mean, I'm willing to give a team like the Buccaneers the benefit of the doubt that this is a rocky, like a start-stop type of thing, and they'll kind of find their place. But I don't think the Jets deserve it, but I'm just curious. It's a very interesting predicament we're in trying to analyze these games right now because they had zero time on the field. And like Darnold did not complete a pass, which felt like the entire first half. You can't win like that. And everything was just like square peg, round hole. And it's
I'll say sorry, go ahead, Phil.
No, I was going to say we said that same exact thing about certain teams need preseason, right? Certain teams need that repetition, and it's most notably, like you mentioned, the Bucs with a new system, a new quarterback. Giants have a new head coach. They have a pretty much a new offensive line, a bunch of players on defense. You need new coordinators. You need those reps in preseason, and they're a team that we both agreed earlier that would have benefited from a bunch of preseason games, which they didn't get.
Yeah, but if you also look on the flip side, to Dan's point, I think Tampa Bay is going to be fine. I mean, they played New Orleans. New Orleans is going to be one of the best teams in football, right? What you saw, though, is like the really good teams, right? They went out and they played good quality football. New Orleans, Tampa to a certain degree, Seattle.
Yeah, Baltimore, Kansas City. Yeah.
Right, Baltimore, Kansas City. And then you have on the flip side, you have the bottom dwellers, just the worst of the worst, Cleveland, the Jets. These are teams that, maybe a preseason game would have helped them so that they could have, built a cohesive unit, especially on the offensive line that's being rebuilt. But that doesn't. One does not lead to ineptitude and unpreparedness. One is just being outplayed and not going through the motions.
Right.
The other one is complete. They weren't prepared to play football. As I said to Phil, I don't mind losing. The Giants lost, but at least the Giants looked somewhat competitive in the first half. They held their own. The Jets at no point
they were winning.
We're even doing anything offensively.
No, and I couldn't believe that they were unable to complete the pass. It was like the receiver was open, but the ball either hit the guy in the hands and bounced off his chest and it fell. I saw that happen multiple times where it hit him right here, and he wasn't ready to catch the ball, or it was behind him or over his head or out of reach, and I'm like, what's going on?
So Bud and I talked about this earlier. How did it make you feel watching the Jet game, knowing that Robbie Anderson was down in Carolina putting up over 100-plus yards and a touchdown?
I did not give him a thought. He did not enter my mind until I looked on the waiver wire for fantasy football this morning and saw Robbie Anderson had a good game, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But what entered my mind was, why am I watching this football team? I don't know why I was watching them. Because it was awful football. It was awful. It was just not fun.
But every year, and I say this every year, there's a little glimmer of hope. But immediately, and we're at least a half of football goes by or whatever. The first drive of the game, I said to myself, we are screwed. The first drive of the game. There's no way that you can go 3 and out that easily all the time.
Well, the only things I wrote preseason was Bell could have a tremendous year and the Jets would be good. He's now out at least a month with a hamstring injury that he got in the preseason and denied. Or Darnold can actually go to the next level and lead this team, which looks like an impossible dream. So let's use that to transition to the Jets' next opponent, the 49ers, who either did not play up to their Super Bowl level last year or are not nearly as good as they were a season ago. Because I don't know. I mean, we all thought that Arizona would be better. But I'm not sure that I thought they'd be as good as the 49ers week one and good enough to beat them. I don't know what to make of either team right now. Like there's a couple matchups like Chargers versus the Bengals. They both stink even though they played a close game. But I don't know what to make of either the 49ers or the Cardinals.
Well, the 49ers held the lead, similar to what they did in the Super Bowl, and Jimmy Garoppolo just couldn't make the right throws and do the right things at the right time, and Kyler Murray just took advantage of that. I mean, that's how I look at it. I mean, I think Arizona is going to be a better football team. I don't think they're going to be, doorbusters. I still think San Francisco is going to be a good team. I really do. I don't foresee them, going crazy. As a matter of fact, in my picks, I had San Francisco losing week one to Arizona. So
Okay.
it doesn't surprise me that much.
Luckily, they have a get well game next week, huh?
Well, I'm wondering, are both of those teams good or are they both bad? That's what I'm wondering. Is it?
I think San Francisco was here, Arizona was here. Now they're kind of like this, right? San Francisco comes down a little bit from their, little Super Bowl hangover, which we see every year. It happened to the Rams. It happened to all the teams. It happens every year. As good as you are, and we always think every year, the teams that made the Super Bowl are just going to do it again. We know that's not the case. I don't even think anyone's. I mean, I know a lot of people are picking Kansas City because it's easy to pick the Super Bowl winners to repeat, but that Super Bowl hangover. And listen, DeAndre Hopkins for Kyler Murray is a huge upgrade from what he had before.
Yeah, it's true, and he's by all accounts getting him the football, unlike our team, the Jets. Well, so there's a couple. Well, didn't we just see a big name receiver demanding a trade, Allen Robinson? Do we see the Jets snatch up a guy like that, or are they punting on the year?
Oh, they're punting.
According to his agent, there's no trade offer at the moment, or there's no trade request. But who knows if that's even true?
Okay.
So I said to Phil earlier, Dan, and I'll throw this out to you as a fellow Jets fan. Say the Jets end up with the first pick overall, right?
Oh, they're totally taking a quarterback. It's just.
Do you get Trevor Lawrence?
I think that they do. I'm not sure. I'd have to see how Darnold plays this year to know if I want him. But
well, they have the number one pick. He didn't play that well.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right. Then I do want him. I mean, Darnold's not this GM's guy. I think he fires the coach, brings in a new coach, and they draft a new quarterback to pair together for the future with a new young offensive line.
How many more years do we have to go through this crap? It's every 3 years.
So we have to go through it until we have a general manager who knows what he's doing. We'll see if Joe Douglas is that guy. I like the moves he's made so far.
Now, will Deebo Samuel be coming with Trevor Lawrence if you get the number one pick?
We do have 3 number 1 picks, so.
wait, not Deebo. Oh my God, Jesus. Well, who's the coach for Clemson? Is it Deebo? Is that him?
Oh,
Deebo Sweeney?
Oh my God,
I don't want a college coach.
Why can't I think of his name? Deebo Samuel is a player. Jesus. But anyway, whoever the coach of Clemson is, he's probably going to be getting an NFL job soon.
Davos? Yeah, I don't want a college coach.
Well, I want the offensive coordinator from Kansas City.
There you go.
I said that in the podcast too. The Jets passed on him too, right? Adam, our guy. Yeah.
I'd like Greg Williams to stick around and see what he can actually do with some decent talent. He's got a gaping hole at linebacker again this year with Blake Cashman injured. Like
Marcus May played well.
Yeah, he played as well as Jamal Adams did at the exact same spot. I'm not completely surprised. May's always been a good player, and now he's got a chance to shine.
What did Jamal Adams say?
Jamal Adams said that he's not used to having an offense score 38 points.
Yeah, he shouldn't get used to that in Seattle, but he's definitely on a better football team. Lots of disappointment week 1. I don't know. I don't root for anybody that overachieved. My fantasy team lost too. the Falcons don't look like a hot pick. Where are you guys feeling heading into week 2?
It's like you said before, week 1 tells a lot of lies. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I'll jump on the Giants here for a second. When we mentioned it before, and Bud said before, they lost, yes, but there were little things here, little things there. We're like, all right, if we improve here, if we improve there. I saw some great throws. Daniel Jones hit Darius Slayton for 41-yard bomb. I mean, that was freaking awesome. We all saw Barkley getting swallowed up in the backfield, but we also saw what happens when Barkley finally gets room to run. He's hurdling people like he's in the Olympics. So, there's little flashes of hope here and there. Then they go on a 19-yard drive, which obviously ended in a terrible interception at the goal line, but you still went 19 plays there. So there's little bits here and there that if you can just, harness those and improve it, maybe in a few weeks that helps. All that being said, now you get to go play Chicago, who, listen, Chicago doesn't scare me anymore like they used to a few years ago. And Mitchell Trubisky is not Ben Roethlisberger.
No, they should have lost to the Lions too. I mean, they got given that game.
If that poor kid, if DeAndre Swift catches that ball like he should have because it was in his hands, Lions win that game no problem. Poor kid.
So every year we see a team go 4-1, 3-1 in September, and then they're awful. And we see the opposite. We see an 0-4, 1-3 team make the playoffs and turn out to be one of the best teams in the league. I don't know. Can we make that? It's so hard to make that decision right now.
It's a way because what happens if Cleveland plays Cincinnati in a few nights on Thursday Night Football? I think we all expect Cleveland to win that game. So let's say they do. You're going to look at the Baltimore game and be like, all right, they played Baltimore. They ran into a buzzsaw. You're going to fuck it up.
I don't know, but
I don't believe that game. Joe Burrow played really well.
I was going to say,
I'm not sold on that, Phil.
Yeah,
Cleveland bounces back though.
I mean, I'm more high on Burrow than Baker right now because Burrow's got the rookie energy. Baker Mayfield's like, I'm almost going to lose my job.
You're right, but Baker's got a lot more weapons at the moment.
Or progressive or whatever else he's doing.
So, Bud, does Gase survive the season?
No.
Does he survive Thanksgiving?
No.
Does Greg Williams get to be interim head coach?
Last because I'm always so doom and gloom. If this team starts 0-5 and they look uncompetitive and unprepared and everything else, they're both going to be on the chopping block. And Joe Douglas seems like a pretty smart guy, and I think he has a plan. And I believe in his plan. I really do. I think that what he's doing is good.
Yeah.
This is clearly not working.
Yeah, I agree. And if Greg Williams becomes interim head coach, this would be the second time that he became interim head coach. It worked out pretty well last time in Cleveland, even though they didn't give him the head job and he wanted it, right? But I don't see the Jets giving it to him either. So
all right, I'm gonna read off the Jets schedule to Thanksgiving.
Oh gosh, all right.
Okay. The Thanksgiving is what, week
11, 10, something like that.
Week 10. All right, that's perfect because they have a bye in week 11. Okay, I'm going to read off all the games, and you tell me what game they can win.
Oh, geez, I already did this. Okay.
Buffalo. We already know what happened there, right? San Francisco, Indianapolis, Denver, Arizona, Chargers, Buffalo, Kansas City, New England, Miami. By the time they play Miami, 2 is playing. And then they have a bye. Tell me where
they are not worse right now than the Chargers. They are not worse than Cincinnati, and they are not worse than Denver. Things can change quickly, but after 1 week, I can't say that they're worse than those teams. I don't know.
They're not playing Cincinnati. They're playing Denver, the Chargers.
Oh, I thought you said Cincinnati. I'm sorry.
No, Indianapolis.
Oh, Indianapolis. They're not worse than Indianapolis right now, in my opinion. So I don't actually think the Jacksonville's very good. I think the Colts are kind of –
I think the Colts got lazy personally, but –
yeah. I mean, and they could show something, but it'd be interesting to see. With Le'Veon Bell not on the field and no pressure to give him the ball, Frank Gore, who still seems to be in the best shape of his life, that offense is going to be completely different. And it may have a lot of – I like to think Bell's a catalyst for positive, but he might just be an annoying mouth to feed. And without having to do so, we'll have to see what that team looks like next week. We don't know.
Bell's gone. Bell's gone by the trading deadline. Gone.
Who's going to trade for him if he's got a hamstring?
Doesn't matter. It just the Jets will trade. The Jets will trade him, and they'll eat some of the salary. I said the same thing on the podcast, especially if they are successful over these next couple weeks.
No, I think so. Who's going to want him?
A team that needs a veteran running back that is like a half a piece away.
Yeah.
Well,
right? Somebody like San Francisco who needs a solid running game.
Do we get a Frank Gore revenge game against his former team? San Francisco.
No, because he should have had a revenge game against Buffalo.
He can get a revenge game against Miami and New England too. He's played all over, but
it's all garbage.
I know it is.
I'm sorry.
Well, I'm trying to I'm watching the first quarter of this football game thinking, what's another team I can root for instead? I'm here in LA. Do I want to root for the Rams? Do I want to it's hard to watch them. It's very hard to watch them play like that.
The Chargers need a fan base. You can be on the front of that bandwagon.
But that's not any better. It's not any better.
They play in a nicer stadium.
They do. That's true.
That roof, they were talking about that roof on Sunday Night Football. I guess it's translucent, and if the sun hits it at the right way, you can get sunburned by standing on the field.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't think it opens though, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it opens or not.
I don't think it does.
Well, that's okay then. So then they're inside here in LA, so they don't have to worry about the air quality. We were talking about the air quality earlier, but I don't think they should play in San Francisco or Oakland. Or they're not in Oakland, so that's easy. They shouldn't play in San Francisco.
They already did, though.
Yeah, but they probably shouldn't have. A mess there right now.
Listen, your state's everyone's got to turn their hoses on and start pouring water on the fire there because this is a yearly occurrence out there.
That sounds like a great idea during a perpetual drought that's been running for years.
Yeah.
So this is a semi-off topic, but related since we're winding the show down. Major League Baseball has decided to do a bubble for the playoffs. And I think they're going to have like 3 or 4 host cities, and they're going to let fans come to those host cities in the bubble. You think the NFL is going to end up doing a bubble for its playoffs, or you think we'll be good enough by then it won't matter?
I think by then we'll be in a lot. So listen, 4 months ago, we were all quarantined and not allowed to go outside. So in another 4 or 5 months, God forbid this whole thing is gone, but I think we'll be in a much better spot than we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that the baseball will at least be a proof of concept for the NFL trying to.
Yeah, I think during the Denver game, because I'm sweating fantasy, so I'm watching this game till 1 a.m. because I'm a glutton over here. Denver, same as Green Bay. I think in like 3 or 4 weeks they're going to start letting people in.
Okay.
It seems like as we get closer and closer to playoff time, it's only week 1, but it seems like at least the plan is to start letting fans in these stadiums.
It'll be super interesting. There was no home field advantage in the NBA playoffs, and it totally changed the dynamic for a lot of teams. I mean, look at Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think that happens any other way. I'd be curious if the NFL removed home field advantage in the playoffs, because in the Super Bowl, the playing field's got much more level without home field, and you see a lot of weird things sometimes. It'll be interesting. I don't know if it'll end up happening, but home field, even without fans, is still home field.
You still get to sleep in your home bed.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts until we pray that something better happens week 2, guys?
My final thought is the Giants' offensive line better learn how to block for Barkley, or it's going to be a very long year.
Yep, I feel the same, bud.
I agree, and I have nothing to say except I have fire Gase.
Yeah, I'm on board with that hashtag right now. He's thoroughly uninspiring.
Uninspiring.
I'm being kind. I don't know why, but I'm being kind. He doesn't deserve it.
You're better than
next week.